So welcome back to the Intermat Wrestling Podcast. It is the four amazing gentlemen, the four best friends that we've ever did see. Um, week three, gentlemen, week three, and first a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of welcome backs. Welcome back to Sammy Sasso. That was a pretty awesome atmosphere to see him come back. Welcome back to Gable. We talked about that last week, but he had his press conference and he's even eyeing 2028. So maybe the Olympics maybe he's sticking around in the wrestling world for a little bit. And then welcome back to Shayne Van Ness. We'll jump to the All-Star Classic, but hell of a way to really announce that you're back in the lineup and that you're fully healthy than with a dominant win at the All-Star Classic in front of your home crowd.
And it was less welcome for Ty Waters.
Yeah.
He
He
didn't
was
feel very welcomed.
not as welcomed. No.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with that one, honestly, because for me, it was the performance of the entire All-Star Classic, and not just because it was the biggest margin, but because it was his first match in a year, right? And he looked phenomenal. But on Ty Waters' side, he just looked just like really out of sync. And I know that his style isn't very orthodox, right? Like he feels his way through a lot of these positions. He feels more comfortable in awkward positions where other guys don't feel as comfortable. But it was very weird. He just seemed like he was out of position. Like his game plan, the unorthodox style isn't going to work on a guy like Shane Van Ness, and that really showed. But man, like I said, welcome back, Shane Van Ness. It's a hell of a way to come back.
I mean, like you said, with Waters, he's comfortable in some of these positions where other guys are typically uncomfortable. But yeah, Van Ness just looked like he was never out of position. His hips were always where he wanted them to be. He was in control of every single tie up. And so immediately Waters was just kind of like searching for something. And as the match went on, he was like quicksand. He started to struggle a little bit, and then he started to struggle a little bit more. And before he knew it, he was deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And then it was
Fighting off his
over.
back at one point.
Yeah, so I mean that was so impressive by Shane Van Ness, and I've said here and I've said on Blood Round, I've said a variety of different places, I'm gonna wait till I see what he's gonna do before I'm gonna start being like, okay, this guy's a contender. No, he's absolutely a contender. He's immediately in the mix and looked better than I could have ever guessed.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, like Waters even just like fell off the top at one point, and Ness pounced on him and threw him to his back, right? Like it was just super awkward. And like I said, even though Waters is an awkward kind of a wrestler, a little different style, that was just like not even in the same realm of what we're used to seeing. So, um, crazy match, but I I am putting that contender stamp right back on Van Ness. You probably should have known that he was going to come back and look the part like he did before, but you still have to kind of feel it out, right? Some guys come back tentative after an injury. Some guys, have to get their mind and their body sync back up. And for that to be his first match back in a year, and he's wrestling a guy that has, just came back from being an All-American a year before, man, you have to give him that stamp of approval.
Well, and that was the wild thing is I remember his last full year of competition, and I don't remember him looking this good. you know. And I remember he wrestled well in the
He
All-Star Classic last year,
he
and
almost turned Yanni though that year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
yeah, he almost did, but he didn't, right? Like,
I mean,
like
some will say he had some swipes
a,
that should have come.
a lot of guys almost beat Yanni that didn't. So, but no, I mean,
Except me.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, but no. Point being, I don't mean this as a knock at Shane Van Ness. I mean this more as like what he showed the other day was so much further than I remembered, and maybe I'm wrong. I'll accept that too. It wouldn't be the first time. So, but no, he looked awesome.
Yeah, it just looked like he didn't really miss time with that injury. It's like he just took a redshirt year, was training full, and then boom, just got so much better. Like, did you take time off the mat? Like, what the heck did you do for rehab? It's just crazy how much he's jumped levels while being injured. I don't know how these Penn State guys do it, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, both him and Carter, no braces, no anything.
Yeah.
And that's the other match I want to talk about where Carter looked at every bit of his new weight class and he controlled the mat through underhook, was pushing the pace. Parker looked tired. All what it is, he did not look like Parker Keckeisen, and he got in on a really tight shot
Yeah, he
and
did.
just couldn't finish. And I mean, obviously Starocci is very strong. You can see it. You can see it in how he wrestles guys. You know, he's not just, you know, a physical looking anomaly. You can see how he controls matches, and his control with an underhook was just crazy. And he was pushing him all over the mat. He was taking ground. He was holding center. That was a serious match. Even though it went to overtime, it was controlled by Carter Sriracha the entire time. What'd you guys make of it?
I didn't feel like it was the Parker that we have seen before. Like you said, I don't know if he was trying to pace himself. I don't know if he, what it was, because it seemed like he was going for, really short sprints rather than kind of pushing the pace as he generally does the whole match. And I think I don't know if that was a strategy or what it was, but it wasn't working for him, and it didn't seem he just kind of seemed out of sorts. And that really deep shot that he got in on, normally that's when I would expect him to finish. Now, clearly finishing on Starocci is a whole separate issue, but that was a damn good shot, and he was in deep and didn't have any chance at finishing it.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's definitely a rematch come March. I'm excited for because as kind of what Robbie said, that's probably not the best Parker Keckeisen we're going to see. Carter will probably get better too, obviously, right? So it'll be interesting to see where those two land, potentially NCAA finals match. But one thing I do want to point out is good guy Carter Sriracha with his tweet giving Flo props about, hey, they put on a good show. Where are all these other number one guys at? What are you guys hiding for? Essentially, I thought that was a little, he likes to be the villain. Maybe that's less villain than usual, but I thought that was cool for him to give Flo props and call these other guys out. Like, hey, what are you guys protecting? Come wrestle. I thought that was fun.
He even, it was even to the point where I felt like there was maybe a little jab in there for the guys that did wrestle in the event and didn't just let it all hang out. The match doesn't really count. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it
Yeah,
counts, but it doesn't count. So like go wrestle, guys. Like go feel this out. Cause let's think about it, right? Like we're probably going to see Bird and Bailey wrestle again. We're probably going to see Parker and Carter wrestle again. We're most likely going to see another Mendez Bartlett match. These matches are going to happen. I mean, some of
At
them have
least
already
once.
happened in the past, right?
Yeah,
Like
at least
we're
once.
going to see them again. At what point can you wrestle the the other guy who is top 5, top 10 in your weight class and there's zero consequence outside of us saying, "Hey, remember when they wrestled during the All-Star Classic and it went this way?" Otherwise, I mean, I don't know if anyone, and I don't know if Earl even really used it at all in his rankings or if Flo used it in theirs. But like outside of that, they can't use that against you at the NCAA tournament. They can't use that against you at any point during the year. The only people that possibly can are the rankers if they choose to do that. And that's their choice. So like why not go out and just let it fly? Like there is literally no circumstance to you winning and losing this match outside of getting a feel for a guy that you're most likely probably over a 75% chance you're going to see again.
no, I don't disagree with that, and I'm certainly on the page of let it fly. But does that come from a different position when you're talking about a what seventh year senior now who has multiple national championships? That's a little different to come at it from that position of, you don't have anything to lose, rather than somebody who's still working their way up and is just getting into that kind of top tier, like a Bailey, like a Waters, right? So maybe it's a different position to come at it from, um, if you're one of those guys. And I don't know if that makes sense. Um, what I'm trying to say, it makes sense in my head. If that helps.
No, I mean, I think what you're trying to say is like, when you're going for your fifth NCAA title, it's real easy to point fingers and be like, come on, you wusses, like get out here and compete. It's like,
You one-time All-American scrubs. Come
yeah,
on.
come on. Get out here, as if there was a ton of guys turning down invitations, by the way, too. I mean, I don't know what that looked like, but
Some did.
I was going to flip it a little bit though, too. It was funny because like my son came in, when it was getting going, and I was like, hey, this is the NWCA All-Star Classic. Like, this is some of the best guys at each weight battling it out. Sometimes it's number one versus number two. Other times it's, guys who are on the podium or guys who are coming back, but it's a pretty cool event. And he was like, oh, so is this like, like the NBA All-Star game or like the Pro Bowl where like they're not really trying? And I was like, no, it's the opposite of that.
Complete
like, these
opposite.
guys are trying to beat the other guy. Like technically it like doesn't matter, but it absolutely matters. Like nobody puts their shoes on and shows up not trying to absolutely destroy the other guy. So he was like, oh, cool. Like really good guys actually trying to beat each other in an exhibition. I'm in. So credit to everybody who did show up and compete, because like it was a good show. It was awesome. Every one of these matches had something you could take away from it. Even the ones that were blowouts, you were like, holy smokes, I didn't expect that to look like that,
And the Mendez Bartlett match looked exactly like we expected it to, like exactly like every other match has.
Yeah, but not in a bad way, No,
in a very entertaining, great match kind of way.
Yeah.
And
I still
Mendez looked
contend,
really good.
Yeah. I still contend that if this were still a preseason event, I would like to see how much different it's treated. And if people do open up more when it's actually a preseason event rather than already being 3 weeks into the season. I don't know if it would make any difference, but I always liked that as the kickoff.
Yeah, the only guys that it was a preseason event for was Penn State, right? Like they hadn't had any matches until that. But like overall, like I said, I loved it. I honestly forgot that it was Lucas Bird was taking Frost's place, but like that match, I'm gonna say I was disappointed in it, honestly. And because we know what kind of offense those guys bring, and it was not shown whatsoever. And for what, a month now, I've been the biggest Lucas Bird fan around, right? He's my Sergio Lemley apparently this year. So,
oh, do we all get to pick one?
We'll get to you.
Yeah.
We'll get to you.
Yeah, Isaac Trumbull, you already picked him, all right?
Yeah, you definitely you think you loudly picked him already.
Yeah. You marked your territory.
No, like I think
I didn't pee on him though, if that helps.
It was a just not a good match in my like it was kind of a head scratcher to see Bailey take neutral instead of taking bottom. But I think it does give props to the fact that Lucas Bird is pretty damn good on top. We saw him, put a really good ride on the week previous when he won at Journeyman, right, in the finals. So it does give credence to that. But again, there's no consequences to feeling it out. And let's be honest, if you're going to get a chance to feel out a certain position, you should probably do it now. The last time you want to do it, first time you want to do this is at the NCAA tournament. That's the last time that you do not want that to happen, right? So go down, feel what it is, see what he's got on top, and gain your escape. But like, I just felt like neither guy was too offensive, and obviously it showed in the score. And I shouldn't say it was a bad match, honestly. I think it was a good match of two guys that are very evenly matched. But for knowing how well they can score, I would have liked to see more offense out of the both of them. So that was kind of my gripe, especially for guys who are, two of my favorites in any weight class going into this year. Those guys are two of my favorites, and I've been really excited to see them face each other. And it was just like, okay, let's get some offense going here. Let's have something. Spent a lot of time in front headlock, and Bird is obviously very good at defending there and tying guys up and keeping his legs back, and it showed. But also, let's get to a leg. Let's get through one. As Coach Goodale would say.
Yeah, I mean the choice to go neutral, I think he just believed in his offense way more than he believed in his ability to get out, right? And he was trying to give you the offense you were looking for, Holmes. He was trying, He chose to do that. It just didn't work. But the main point there that I absolutely agree with is like, goes back to this. It's an exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
See what it's like, use this as a learning experience. If you lose here, who cares, right? You lost anyway. So in retrospect, easy to say, probably should have done it, but hopefully this public service announcement can get to, next year's All-Star guys and they can choose bottom.
That'd be nice. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's like someone get a takedown. It's an all-star match, 1-0. It can be exciting, but usually not. I agree with both you guys, but I want to talk about Gaudiali from Campbell. Looked really
Yeah.
freaking good. If I could change topics here on that. I
Yeah.
didn't expect him to beat Feldman the way he did. Yeah, he looked really damn good.
He did.
Yeah.
He certainly did. I was pleasantly surprised by that match too. What was that final score, like 7-2, 7-3, something like that?
8-3.
8-3. I loved it. I thought that he used his offense very well, especially in that first takedown. You were like, oh, like
Yeah.
he has certainly continued to jump levels. So that was another awesome match. And I'm glad that like we got our wish and that they did truly build a card and instead of going in weight order. So I was pretty happy to see that. But I obviously saw that after we recorded last week's show. But that match was good. That match was very good. And Gadali looked amazing. And he'll have we'll get to it, but he'll have a huge test, probably the biggest test of his career ever this week. But
He wrestles Isaac Turnbull again?
Yeah, that's a good way to announce yourself as a contender for sure.
Yeah.
Beating a guy like Feldman who was that close to, inches away from beating the NCAA champion last year. What did you guys make of the heavyweight bout?
Might have been my favorite match, honestly. It's been really cool to see how Tay has improved over the years and how he continues to be, add to his arsenal, get more and more offensive. And he is one who didn't hold anything back and really did open up. So it was really fun to watch, against somebody who he wasn't favored against. He just let it fly, and it was an entertaining match.
Tay was awesome, man. I was super pumped for him. I picked Feldman. Before the year as my bold prediction to win the NCAA title.
Mm-hmm.
My bold prediction, as it turns out, should have been Gable Steveson is coming back. But still, that just goes to show how impressed I was with Tay. I don't remember where I said it. It probably was here, but I interviewed him at NCAA's a couple different times. Super awesome dude, obviously from Michigan, and I always have a spot for people from Michigan. So while I thought Feldman was going to win, I'm more than happy to see Tay get it done. So very impressed.
It's because of you, Kevin, that I know how to say his last name because people were screwing it up and you asked him how to say it. So I was like, all right, let's commit that to memory. It is now Gadali and not Gaudiali. So, but side note on Tay Diesel, as they call him, do you think he truly forgot his singlet?
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, makes sense.
And why the reason I'm asking, yes, I do think that he truly forgot his singlet, but did he truly forget his singlet? Because right now, Campbell isn't in the best standing with the university, right? Like the university isn't really coming out and saying they're saying we support you, but we're gonna take something back from you right now. It kind of gave me a little Stanford-esque rebellion, not trying to rep the school on the biggest stage kind of a thing. And maybe that was just my own wishful thinking, honestly.
I think it was more of that, and Scotty spoke to it pretty quickly to kind of put that down. And I think the difference with that situation is you're looking at a completely different size of a school and impact that would have. Nationally, it can, taking away from the Stanford brand, making a statement that way made a lot of sense. But to do it to a small school who you're trying to, work with to remedy this issue, I don't think it would bring the attention that they're looking for. And Scotty said he forgot it. I believe Scotty. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Oh yeah, I certainly think that he did. I just was, like I said, for my own brain, I was hoping it was a calculated decision.
It made me wish that they had all-star singlets again. Didn't they have those back in the day? The red
They
and
did.
blue.
Yeah,
and,
they did.
Yeah, those are cool. And then
They
you
did.
have a keepsake.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I do not like the Dake Taylor comparisons with Keckeisen and Starocci. It is not even close on the spectrum. It's not. I mean, yes, it is awesome that you have a 4-time NCAA champion wrestling a 1-time NCAA champion, and they're number 1 and number 2. But
Technically the same number of titles, though.
Same number of titles. Same number of titles.
Just
but
4 from one guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it for me, it just it ain't there. It is not there. Like, I don't even know why you would make that comparison, because it's not even close. And
that series was kind of a league of its own, and
it really was. Even though you can't even really call it a rivalry, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest. Taylor never beat Dake. And it's pretty reminiscent of Taylor and Burroughs. Burroughs never lost to Taylor. You know what I mean? But everybody always said, like, that rivalry was so big, and it was obviously overtaken by Dake Burroughs. But, like, to get back to the comparison, I was just like, guys, I don't see it. I mean, if the only similarity in this entire thing, there's 2 of them, and it's 1 versus 2, and there's a Penn
one was
State
the
guy
national
involved.
champion at the weight under and is moving up.
Fine, there's 3, but, like, outside of that, like, no, there's not any single sort of comparison in this entire thing. So it just didn't. I just kind of laughed at it when I saw it. So that was pretty funny to me, for people to be like, this the new Dake Taylor, and it's like, no, it would have to be going on for more than 1 match. And I understand they wrestled in Fargo, and Keckeisen beat him in Fargo years ago, beat Starocci in Fargo, but, like,
So it's 1-1,
guys.
you're saying?
Yeah, apparently now it's 1-1.
Also,
but, like,
Keckeisen is clearly aging with his hairline, so
Yeah.
not reverse aging. So there's that aspect as well.
That's a good point.
there is no Benjamin Button factor, which is a big one. So yeah. But no,
This reminds me of, like, when, like, NBA comparisons for, like, the draft combine, and they're like, I'm kind of like MJ, but also like Kobe. No,
No,
I'm
you're
a lot
not.
like I'm like if both of those guys had a baby and it was me. Like, yeah, those are great.
You're none of the above. None of the above. No, I mean, the All-Star Classic was great. The women were amazing. I was gonna give you props on this one, Robbie. The McBride sisters,
they're gnarly.
ruthless.
Yeah.
Ruthless. And I was, I honestly tuned in because I was like, Robbie said that these girls are really great, and I've only seen them wrestle maybe a handful of times. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it a point to make sure that I am watching these 2 girls. Because I think I can't even remember. I think I saw them wrestle in other All-Stars or something like that, or maybe it was the national championship or something like that. I know they've won titles, but I can't even really, to be honest, can't even remember. And that's pretty shitty of me to even say that, but I was pleasantly surprised by how they competed and how they wrestled, and because they are seriously tough. But the women put it out there. The women, they seriously did. They look great. They had really great matches. But I would love for every single one of these people to get rid of the headgear. Can we get rid of headgear? Honestly,
but it protects the ears and keeps them from all getting cauliflower ear, right?
The majority of cauliflower ear happens in practice, guys. Like, let's be honest. We all know it. Majority of cauliflower happens in practice, and everybody's wrestling freestyle anyway, where there is no headgear. So
yeah,
Well, it's funny. I was talking to a buddy of mine that I still wrestle with every once in a while. He's like, I have to get a headgear this year because every time I wrestle you, and he's talking to me, he's like, you wear your headgear, and your headgear gives me cauliflower ear. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm the problem.
Fight fire with fire.
Awesome.
But before we move too much further, one
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say about the McBrides, that's the sisters of Muhammad McBride, right?
Yeah.
His triceps were so big, it was like a baby's head was trapped in his arm.
Yeah.
It was insane. Anyway, that was the one comment I wanted to make there. The 197 Little and Bronigal match, that needs to get a shout out because despite it being 2-1, like those guys were slip sliding around the mats, falling off of single legs, just hitting each other in the head. It was
I was kind of frustrated by that match too because Little was the more offensive guy. He was firing off shots. He couldn't finish. You know, props to Bronigal and his defense, but man, it was just like the guy that is wrestling better could end up losing this match right now. And the guy that was wrestling better was Little. He was attacking more. He was taking more ground. A lot of the times when they were going out of bounds, it was because of his action. So, but that match was good. It certainly was a really good match. Any other thoughts on All-Star Classic before we move to the dual meets that happened?
That kind of sums it up.
Yeah,
Nothing.
roll.
So yeah, let's roll and let's start in the ACC and see what Robbie's got. What stuck out to you last week in the ACC?
It was a pretty solid weekend. Even Duke got their first win. They look good at the upper weights. Connor Barkett, Aiden Wallace, and Vinny Lee were all 2-0 on the weekend. So it's nice to see them have a little bit of success. Clearly the big duel was in Blacksburg on Friday night with Mizzou coming in, and the Hokies really controlled it from the opening whistle. I think the score was closer than the actual duel felt. And, super impressed with everybody up and down the lineup. Ventresca got a close win. McGonigal got a big win over in a pretty scrappy match with Cade Moore. Latona knocked off Edmond. That was a really fun match. Henson handled Geoffrey. It was really cool. Geoffrey's brothers, who are twins, Michael and Jack, are both at UVA, and they came to watch. So it was kind of cool to see them in the tunnel watching their brother. So that was kind of cool. But they just look great. I mean, Andy Smith won a good match. You kind of let Sinclair back in the match. Hippolito's still undefeated, got bonus points. Mullen's still undefeated, looked really good against Nitzel. TJ Stewart was kind of the thing that stood out. It was his first match of the year, and he lost to Colton Hawks. Just didn't look himself, honestly. He wasn't super aggressive, wasn't very offensive, and didn't wrestle the way we normally see him wrestle. So I'm interested to see how he responds to that and bounces back. They got another big duel this week on Friday against Rutgers. So it'll be a good chance for him with Soldano. So be a tough test.
Yeah, Rutgers had NC State, and
NC State took him to the woodshed.
Yeah, they certainly did. My question is 125 for NC State. Robinson's still looking good. I mean, it was an injury default against Dean Peterson. They hit heads, and Peterson
But he was up like 11-4 at the point.
Yeah, he was up big at that point. So like, even though that happened, he was cruising. What do you make of that? Is they obviously have some things to figure out at 125. It's a good problem to have, but with a guy that is just like killing people, just beating the hell out of dudes.
He's looked amazing all year. I mean, he was 11-2 last year in his redshirt year. He's 10-0 to start the year this year. He's been, pretty untouchable. He's been super offensive. The lowest point total he has was against Rivera from Princeton. It was 9-0. Other than that, he scored double digits in every single match. So he's putting it on people, and he's going out there and making a statement. Camacho had a pretty rough weekend last weekend, and I mean, it's hard to say, why you would put Camacho over him right now, because he hasn't done anything wrong. He's done nothing but just beat the hell out of people all year. And that's kind of what you want. And Camacho lost a couple big matches, and not a whole lot you can say about that until he earns the spot back.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a weight class that is usually, well, I shouldn't say usually. Last year it was wildly inconsistent. The funny thing, I found it really funny because I was watching All-Star Classic, and they had said something about how 125 was such a crazy weight and so inconsistent and this, that, and whatever. And I'm like, I think we had 1 year of inconsistency. And it
Yeah.
was and it was the first year without Spencer Lee. Like even when Spencer was there, yeah, he lost some matches. I mean, we've seen him lose some matches, but like the end of the year came around, it's usually the Spencer show outside of 1 year,
Well, and even,
so like
even that other year too, that was in the middle of it, it was like, who's going to take second to Suriano? Everybody
exactly.
knew it was happening.
So let's stop saying that 125 is a wildly inconsistent weight. We had wildly inconsistent for 1 year. And
Yeah, it was a shit show last year, but
and that was
other
it.
than that, yeah.
And that was it. So like, I mean, yes, there's going to be some cannibalization throughout. That's going to happen. Guys are going to beat guys, but it was no more. I think the only inconsistency that we saw was truly at the top, where we were like, who the hell is going to be number one this week? Right. The number one guy keeps losing every week. So that was the wild, wild west. But like, it was 1 year, guys. Like, doesn't, I hate it. Like, I hate that people are saying that, like, oh, 125 is so crazy, so wild. It's like, no, it was 1 year. That was it. And what we're seeing this year is that consistency is back, honestly. And I mean, obviously we're going into what, week 4, so we're about a month into the season, but like the guys that are winning are continuing to win. They're not getting knocked off. Robinson being one of those guys who has probably been the most consistent. So that was just one of the things that just like kind of caught me as I was like, I walked away from the computer and, at the end of the Volk match, and they were talking about how inconsistent it was. And I was like, and it just made me think. And I was like, no, I think we're okay at 125.
Yeah. And as far as NC State goes, excuse me, it may work out better for them to not have Camacho there and, potentially have the flexibility to push him up to 33. Because that's been their most inconsistent weight so far. And they've tried different starters there and haven't had a whole lot of success. So, that's an option that's on the table. I don't know if they'll go that direction, but, if you can get both of them in the lineup, then why not?
Yeah, who knew as a grown ass man making 125 isn't the easiest.
I just like that.
I haven't made that since 5th grade, so
there you go. I like both their names. Jacob Camacho and Vincent Robinson are badass names. You like make up those names if you're trying to create an alter ego to go to the bar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
other than like Ed Scott, that's kind of the most plain name on that team. But they have some good ones. Kai, Dragon, Coy, even Fishback. That's a cool name.
Isaac Trumbull.
Yeah.
That's Robbie's boy.
No speaking ill will of Isaac Trumbull, who picked up his second win over an All-American this year. Granted, not pretty. No style points. 2-0 win over Slavakuski. The second All-American knocked off after he beat Tay last week, 2 weeks ago. So, not the prettiest entrance, but he's winning. And that's all we're looking for.
Again, for the record, I do not hate Trumbull. Not one bit.
I heard him say that he doesn't like anybody from Nebraska. It's unacceptable.
I mean,
you're screwed,
that
Robbie.
That just sucks for you. So, I mean, let's call it what it is here. You're trying to make me out to be a villain and put some bulletin board material on the walls of NC State. I'm gonna have Pat calling me and asking me what's up and why I'm trashing his heavyweight, when in fact I'm not trashing his heavyweight. I'm trashing the president of his heavyweights fan club who
What you
thinks
should
that
ask him is how he can get his beard to be so thick, because that's the biggest question with Popolizio.
I haven't seen him yet,
Brian.
and I'm kind of mad. I'm doing a journeyman event, and there is no NC State. It's a
That's
what the hell
allowed.
moment. It apparently they will not be in Nashville this year. Not happy about it. However, looking forward to that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that at a later time. But yeah, no NC State in Nashville, and I'm
Frank
kind of
and
upset
Pat are
about
gonna
it.
be fighting at Thanksgiving now
Yeah.
over that turkey that Frank raised. Look at
Yeah.
that. It's full circle. Full circle.
Wow.
But no, I do not hate Trumbull. I just thought that you jumped the gun a little bit on announcing his presence. And then you wanted some backup, and Colton Schultz put that to bed, literally and
I think
figuratively.
Colton was mad because I said he looks like a 4-year-old. It's fine. It's
He's
okay.
always going to look like a 4-year-old in the face. He's a young gentleman in the face, and then the rest of him is
Is
built like
scary
a
man.
built
Yeah,
like a
got
woolly
it.
mammoth. But
Yeah.
he is one of the nicest people, and his dad is awesome. Hands
I've
down, one
heard
of the
that. I've
nicest
never
people.
met him, so I can't say anything bad about him.
Love his dad. Love that man. Every time I see him, he comes up, shakes my hand. Love it. Love that guy. But no, I honestly I do think that Trumbull is a contender at the weight. I do. I would love to see him and Gadali wrestle 5 more times, right? Like I think that they're both very close in styles. They move
Mhm.
their feet very well, and they're both offensive guys. The outlier of heavyweights, that is Colton Schultz, who is going to just do the I'm bigger and stronger than you and you're not going to move kind of a thing. When he can, he will do that. But no, I do think that Trumbull is a contender at the weight, or at least an all-American contender. It's hard to say that anybody is a contender outside of Kirkfleet at this point. Um, because when him and Gable meet once again after a couple years hiatus, that's going to be very, very interesting. But I do think that Trumbull is a guy that you should be looking out for. But on that same note, as you have one heavyweight ascending, you have another heavyweight leaving, and Treffin heads to Lehigh. So this is another time that a Lehigh guy is beaten up on a guy from either the Big Ten. We beat it. We had Lemley lose, we had Kyorini lose, and now, man, it's just must be something in the water in the Lehigh Valley. I have no idea what it is. They just breed great people in that entire place is really what it is. But no, what do you make of the move for, and Robbie, I'm talking to you, and then also I want you to chime in as well on how it helps Lehigh. But what do you make on the move for Treffin? Do you feel like it's a good fit?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's graduating early. He's wrestling unattached this semester. So that's my understanding is the only way that they can do a mid-year transfer now, since that rule has changed. So he'll be a grad transfer not competing this semester attached. Um, he's good. I mean, he was right outside of All-American range last year. I will contend that he hasn't been the same since he cut his hair, because he used to have just a fantastic head of hair, and it's been a little downhill since then.
I like how
I'll
we
give him
all
that.
nodded like we know and miss it.
I do. I do. No, I think he's great. He's got so much potential. Kind of underrated. I think he's 7-0 this year, wrestling unattached. Has a win over Luffman. He's got a ton of potential, and to get him in a lineup for a second semester is going to be a huge addition for Lehigh.
Yeah, Austin, what are your thoughts on the addition for Lehigh at heavyweight, and how it helps them, as what is it? Nate Taylor is not able to be in the line. I think he's taking medical or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like he's out for the year. When he got hurt at Journeyman, it was originally the thought that he had a little sprain, would be out for a few weeks, and we talked about that actually. Turns out it's actually worse than that. Found that out, a day or two ago, and this Trevin thing happened pretty quick. I think the
Yeah.
Machiavello connection from NC State, now he's at the Lehigh Valley Wrestling Club, was probably a big factor in that. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously huge. You have a top 8 guy and the rankings go down. just bringing a guy that's right behind him, so it's great timing wise. And, luckily, like Robbie said, he was unattached this year, so he's able to transfer, and we'll see him second semester. So it's unfortunate he's going to miss the Penn State duel. That's coming up in the next 2 weeks here, but we'll see him in action second semester, and EIWAs, which heavyweight is, pretty tough bracket there.
Musical chairs with these heavyweights.
I heard Friday night that he was in the portal, and then by Monday morning, he's at Lehigh. So it's pretty quick turnaround.
Happens quick nowadays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is he at Lehigh, or is he
He's
still at
in
NC
Raleigh.
State?
He's still in Raleigh finishing classes.
He has to finish
graduates in
classes,
December.
right?
Yep. Which, I mean, good on Pat for, keeping him in the room and allowing that, and having a workout partner with Trumbull, and could have been a dick about it and just kicked him out of the room, but
that doesn't always happen. So that is
Yeah.
that is cool. Shout out Pat
and his beard.
Wouldn't it be something if those two meet like in the quarters or around 12?
I was gonna say it's
And
it's
it comes
cool
down
until it isn't.
Yeah.
Just so familiar with each other, and oh god.
I could have just been a dick for 2 weeks, and I didn't.
Before we jump to the conferences that we cover, I want to talk about the Big 12. Oklahoma State getting a couple of wins, and Utah Valley, the match they had with Utah Valley, they had over 5,000 fans there. So you're already seeing the presence of, what's being brought in by that new coaching staff and a lot of these new transfers, specifically Bear Claw. So, shout out to Adam Hall for doing these things, right? In and out t-shirts, and, making sure that they're hyping up when these bigger powerhouse programs are coming in. You saw the same thing with Iowa last year. I mean, last week, who'd they wrestle? Bellarmine last year or last week.
Bellarmine, yeah.
And they had a ton of fans, right? They had a ton of fans. So like, I think we should have more of these things. Obviously, UVU and Oklahoma State, that's a conference duel. So that'll most likely continue to happen anyway. But like, even if it is, your team getting beat up, it's kind of like Alabama playing Mercer last week in football. Paid a ton of money, and you may have gotten your asses kicked, but you really kind of were able to showcase your team against a bigger program. And I think what Adam Hall is doing is showing that's where we want to go. And this is the kind of a team that we want to be facing off against, and that they're in our conference anyway. But just, showcasing to your fans, like, these are the teams we're going to bring in. This is the kind of atmosphere that we want to build. This is the kind of support that we really want to have for their guys. And then obviously all the things that Bear Claw's doing, right? His match with the Mean came down to criteria with Rideout, but making that the last match, making sure that the butts stayed in the seats, like, that's the stuff that you need to do to build around your program. So I thought it was awesome. And then obviously Taylor goes on, they move on to Oregon State, and they beat Oregon State as well. And there were a couple of matches in that were really good. Serber beating Munoz, and T. Travis was the only loss during that one for Oklahoma State to Styles. So, Big 12 doing some big things, and Oregon State also had a really big crowd on hand too. So awesome deal in the Big 12. Do you guys have any thoughts or comments on how these new programs, or at least these new coaching staffs, are building on, the little bit that they have?
I mean, I've said it since he was hired. Adam's going to be a phenomenal program builder, phenomenal coach. Understands marketing, understands building, understands how to get people in the seats. I think the administration has been super bought in with him, which is huge. The AD is very on board. Their marketing team's very on board. President of the school is on board. So, I mean, he's got a lot of support behind him, and you see, how much he's able to already accomplish in just a few months he's been there. They're going to be a problem in the years to come.
Yeah, and I love what Bear Claw means to that program. I think it might open up some eyes to some guys that maybe second string behind a multiple time All-American, NCAA champ, from big school, Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, whatever. There's other options out there. Go to a smaller school and be the face of that school and help build that program almost from scratch. Maybe not from scratch. They've had, Demetrius Romero in there and a few other guys lately, but it's
Ben
it's a
Gajar back in the day.
yeah, Ben Gajar.
Yeah.
I
They've
mean,
always been consistent.
yeah, they have been,
Mhm.
but it's just a brand new look, brand new staff, and kind of reshaping that entire program. And he's a big deal for that. He's like a top 3, top 4 ranked guy from a small school like that, putting eyes on the program. It's incredible what Baraclo's done. It's only November still. Wait till March. It'll be a big deal.
100% right. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you guys just said, it's really impressive what he was able to do immediately. I mean, like, again, there was consistency over the years. They've had All-Americans. They've had pretty solid teams, but they had the same staff there forever, right? And it is what it is. He did a great job with the program, but you get somebody who everybody knew was going to be a good coach coming in, new ideas, bringing some new excitement and energy, and he's getting the right schools in there. And I know we've talked about Pendleton too, but like, I just realized that, yeah, they've had Iowa and Oklahoma State now, and it's November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not messing around there either. Where is that? I want to say Coralville, but that's not right.
Corvallis.
Yeah.
Corvallis. That's right. Thank you. They're doing great things in Corvallis. We'll edit that to make it sound better.
Yeah.
You hit all the right letters.
Yeah.
all the letters were there.
There's
Yeah.
a thing. Pacific Northwest.
And the thing for me also with Adam Hall, and I'm sure we're gonna continue to praise Adam Hall mostly because he's an awesome dude, but he was at NC State with Pat when Pat had no butts in the seats, right? So he saw how they started to build around those guys and build around the program to the point where now it's filled everywhere they go. When they wrestle UNC at UNC, there's more red in that gym than baby blue. And that's a very big deal. And that's what you
Carolina
want. You have to
blue
build.
to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carolina blue. Carolina blue. I should actually probably grab my Carolina blue sneakers I've got over here, honestly.
Yeah, which pair? You probably have 10 of them.
I have
Look at me acting all pissed. Like, why?
1, 2, 3.
Doing your double-digit pairs of Carolina blue.
Yeah, I just 4 pairs of Carolina blue over here.
So 8 shoes.
Not even double
Yes.
digits.
not even double digits.
One part I just thought of too that was great was that I mean, it's not like Boise, Idaho was huge, right? He was at Boise State competing, and so they did a good thing in an unconventional place with wrestling to really make it big. And again, I know historically, like, program was still there and having success before Adam Hall was there, but still, point being, unconventional area. Same with Utah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's jump to EIWA. Austin, what outside of the stealing from the ACC once again, what's happening in the EIWA?
Well, for how much the ACC has stolen from the EIWA and Ivies, I think it's fair we get one back in return. I'm sure Robbie can agree to that.
We just took all of Columbia. That's okay.
Essentially, including the coach. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And McGonigal, but who's counting? Anyway, Army and Purdue had a really good duel on, what was that, Saturday? I forget what day that was.
It was
1919 criteria. Army
Sunday,
won.
I thought.
Was it Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
morning.
sometime of the weekend.
what are days anyway?
Yeah,
Days are running together.
They blend together, yeah. And we talked about Peterson taking a loss from Rutgers. He actually lost to LIU's Robbie Segaris. Pretty tough kid. And then Robbie went out and lost to the Princeton backup. So there was a little bit of a really high for LIU and then a little bit of a low there, but he'll be back. He'll be good. Just shocking to see Peterson drop 2 matches one day. It usually doesn't happen for him. What else happened here? Lehigh, where we saw Ryan Crookham back against Morgan State, came out with a tech fall. Bucknell wrestled Minnesota, got their butt beat a little bit, but we're in there with some tough matches. 41 was overtime. That was good with Van Bauer and Chappell. Chappell lost in overtime, but Tackett's took out Clayton Whiting, and Tackett's was EIWA Wrestler of the Week.
We also learned that Ray Bucknell was not a person.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, that was
It's a
weird.
what. It's a what, not a who.
Very weird. Saw
Shenanigans.
that conversation.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Why did they shorten it?
I don't know. That's probably an article I should do some digging into and find out and get the word out about that. But yeah, I think that's just kind of their their sport chant, whatever you want to call it, right?
Who was
It's
the
not
school named after if it was not named after Ray?
Ray Bucknell. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe
have no
two
idea.
people named Buck and Nell. Maybe it was a couple.
That's yeah, that
Possible.
could be true.
And they
Ben
had
and
Pet
Jerry's
Bison-
cousins.
Pet Bison?
They had a pet bison.
As
Yeah.
one does.
As one does. How have things looked for Princeton in year 2 of the well, kind of year 1 of that newly rebuilt coaching staff, but year 2 with head coach Dubuque now fully in, at the helm of everything in year 2, and he's got, some of those big horses in the lineup that we expected to see.
Yeah, well they wrestled NC State, took 2 bouts there. Ty Whalen looking really good at 149. He's been a bright spot there. Luke Stout had a nice win. Those 2 guys have kind of been, the power horses in their lineup lately. Just really good results. We
That
haven't
Luke
seen Mark
Stout
Anthony
win wasn't
McGowan
great,
yet, though.
though.
What's that?
That Luke Stout win wasn't great. I mean,
It
that was
wasn't.
over their backup, Machiavella, and it was a
Yeah,
sudden victory.
I think Luke Stout I think the weight cut might be getting to him. It's kind of 4th, 5th year at that weight class. He does have a big cut. And again, it's still early. Everyone says that March is what matters. He'll be back better. But yeah, you kind of expect him to win that one by a little more. But like I was saying, we haven't seen Mark Anthony McGowan yet. I'm not sure if he's dinged up, kind of getting down to weight. I'm not sure what the deal is there. I should find out. But yeah, I think they're looking better. They beat LAU after they lost to NC State. I think they'll have some growing pains. They still got a few young guys in there, but I think they'll be good this year. They'll have a few bright spots.
Yeah, the what was it called? The Jersey Jostle, was that what it was called?
Jersey
Mhm.
Jostle, yep.
They another really great atmosphere. That, I want to make sure that we're pointing those out, because obviously the usual suspects of Penn State, Oklahoma State, Iowa, those guys are always going to have really good crowds on hand. Obviously Rutgers travels very well, and this was in Jersey, but like the amount of fans that are coming out early on in the season already. We talked about UVU, we talked about Oregon State. This was another one of those times. And then obviously everything that Campbell has been doing, along with Wyoming, wrestling in, different atmospheres. So far the wrestling's been great and the atmospheres have been great this year, and hopefully it carries over into the rest of the season and it doesn't just drop off. So that was another one that was like, catching clips and seeing what the crowd looked like, because that was on UFC
It looked
Fight
very
Pass.
Jersey in the crowd.
It looked
very
very
much
Jersey.
looked
There were
Jersey.
some definite fist pumps that were going on. Not as Jersey as a Jersey Mike's Arena crowd, but it was a very Jersey crowd. But like I said, awesome atmosphere. You love how these fans are out to support their teams early in the year. So hopefully they, it doesn't start to fall off at all. Kev, let's move to the conference we cover in the Big Ten. And my first question, and I really want somebody to explain this to me, and this has actually happened to me in high school, but I've never seen it in college, is how the hell was there a 38-1 match for Maryland?
Oh boy, yeah. Well, Maryland wrestled really well. I'll start there.
Well enough to make somebody angry enough to lose a point.
Yeah. So basically 157. Just it didn't look like during the match there was any real chippiness that I can recall, at least. It was just a pretty regular match, but at the end of it, there was some kicks thrown from the bottom, and they kind of got into each other's face, and it was like, oh, all right, well, and then I think I was also watching a movie with my kids and trying to get things going on at the same time.
Was it Karate Kid, and that's where the kicks really were?
Yeah, exactly. It was the crane kick is what happened. So
I was watching Cobra Kai.
Yeah. But no, it was good. I mean, it was they wrestled really well. Both coaches got a team point taken away. So, 39-0 or 38-1, whatever you want to call it. That's how it ended up. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, only one coach had a team point to give.
yeah. That was tough. But I think it's an indication of two main things, right? I think that Maryland has done a really good job over the last couple of years, and in talking to Coach Clemson, he feels really, really good, basically for the first time since he's gotten there, about the depth they have in the room at all the weights, right? They feel like they've got more competition. People really feel like they can get in there and are challenging for the spot to be competitive as contributors to the team. And I know American has done a lot of really good things, but they ran into a team that was trying to establish that they're the DC squad. So, and they certainly showed it on Saturday night.
Yeah,
George Mason's going to have
ugly.
something to say about that. You're bringing the DMV.
Check the schedule.
See what happens. Yeah, that was definitely ugly. Other performances, we had a little crossover between Big Ten and the ACC, with Nebraska wrestling UNC, and Nebraska must be just like a glutton for punishment this weekend because
That was
of
the
the way that
stupidest
they
shit ever.
set up their schedule. Let's wrestle Campbell outside
And
and
inside.
yes, and inside. Oh shit, it's raining. Let's move it inside. Let's allow Jo and Andonian to wrestle basically the exact same match that they wrestled at the Olympic trials or at the World Team trials, but add pylons to it.
There was pylons.
There were pylons, and
but no pylon cam. So was there really pylons?
Right.
There, I mean, I did see a clip where they were both reaching for it, and Andonian got to it first. But Jo being Jo,
long arms,
waits till the last 6 seconds to score a takedown on Andonian, just like he did, and gets that win. But Nebraska wrestled Campbell both outside and inside. There was an all-star match. I'm pretty sure half of Nebraska's team drove to Chapel Hill to start the duel against UNC. And then the other half finished the duel with Campbell. And then that half of the team headed over to UNC. So hell of a weekend.
For a duel that nobody got to see unless you
were
were
a duel that
in
no one
Carmichael
got
Arena.
to see. Yeah.
I don't see the problem. They made it. It worked just fine.
Adversity.
They drew it up. Yeah.
Adversity makes you tough. Suck it up.
Let's go.
I mean, it was a hell of a time. I'm good friends with Sonny Santiago's dad, and he sent me literally a couple hours ago, sent me a picture of Sonny in on a leg on Antrell Taylor, and said he got here twice and couldn't finish.
Yeah.
And you look at the score, and the score was 4-2. And I'm like, that's frustrating. And he's just like, he's got work to do. Yeah. So I'm sure it was a frustrating performance for UNC. It was also very frustrating for Nebraska. Who was it? Van D goes 0-2 on the day, losing to Campbell and UNC. So
one of those was expected.
Yes, one was, the first one not so much. The second one definitely, but the match obviously that everyone wanted to see is Lovett versus Lachlan. Lovett comes out 4-0 and wins that match. Guys, what did you make of it, either from the ACC side or Kev? What are your thoughts from the Big Ten side?
Lovett has got to have a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's got to be coming into this season. He looked like the number one guy all of last year and was having a great time. And again, I've said this before. I really don't want to be the guy who's like, stop smiling, Lovett, because you like that out of the guy.
More hearts.
Yeah. Be mean and hate this,
We're robots. We don't celebrate. We just wrestle.
You shouldn't look like you're having fun. So that's not me. But I think coming into this year, because this is probably his last year of eligibility, I would think he's got to have a mission and he's going to be focused and ready to go. So I said the same thing about Stephen Buchanan last year. Though.
Not the mission is already on.
Yeah, not the mission that Brock Hardy was on. The mission,
different mission.
Okay.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Robbie, what do you make of that match?
It's hard to make much out of it. I mean, it didn't sound like it was clearly I didn't see it. Didn't sound like it was, the greatest match either direction. There's a takedown and an escape, not much to it. So I don't know. Lachlan has 2 losses this year, one to Ty Waters, and one to Rich Lovett. Can't really complain about either of those. But in both the losses, he wasn't very offensive or wasn't able to get to his offense. And that was kind of the biggest question coming up to 49 is if that's going to translate moving up the weight. So, he's got a tough schedule this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Hopefully he learns really well from his matches, from his losses, and is able to make adjustments really well. So I'm hopeful that, both of those can help him adjust whatever he needs to adjust to get to his offense.
Mm-hmm. The other match that was notable was All Red beating Gavin Kane.
Also a very close match.
Very close matches there as well. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe the travel probably doesn't help Nebraska whatsoever. And even for UNC, there's probably some uncertainty of when things were going to happen. Like when are they going to get here? Let's make sure that we have enough time to warm up. Like, very, very awkward situation, but is what it is. The duel was wrestled. Results of the results. We're still at the beginning of the year. We're only a month in, so we'll see. The other note from me that I had from the Big Ten was finally seeing Penn State's lineup, kinda. So it was
But did we?
basically, yeah, like basically all the guys except for two of the 5 guys that wrestled the night before in the All-Star Classic. Bartlett and Van Ness had the night off when they wrestled Drexel. So we didn't see them after the All-Star, but we did get an answer of did Facundo really drop to 57? And he obviously did because he competed there. But there's probably still some figuring out there. I think I saw the clip of Kale where they asked him a question about figuring something out, and he's like, "I don't have it figured out, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't tell you." Which is literally the microcosm of asking Kale questions for the most part throughout his career. But that sort
Great
of honesty
question.
is pretty awesome.
Next question.
Yeah, glad you asked.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything good to say? But yeah, I mean, Penn State looks tough. Obviously, they always look tough, and I think with Facundo down at 57, maybe they're a little bit tougher. Who knows? I mean, obviously, Kasich is an All-American that you could potentially be replacing with Facundo, who hasn't done that yet. So we'll see, right? We'll certainly see, and we'll see how he holds up throughout the year with the weight cut being down at 57 because he is a pretty big guy. He's tall and lanky. So being down at 57, we'll see.
Yeah, he was
They
lean
got a
at
lot of those
65.
tall, lanky guys.
Yeah, he was lean at 65 too, and coming down another weight class. That's probably a good cut for him.
Well, and you also
Yeah,
got to consider the fact that maybe he's been thinking for the last year or so of getting up to 74 or 84. And now
maybe.
it's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I guess I'm going back down.
Yeah. It's weird. Every time I looked at him, I saw Quentin Wright. And mostly because I think he looks exactly like Quentin Wright.
Yeah, he
but
does.
I also thought that he would ascend in weight like Quentin Wright did and fill out into that long, lanky frame that Quentin did in moving up to 97. But I mean, you got to get in where you fit in or you leave. And I think that's what happened with Barraclaw, and he's now at UVU, and now Facundo trying to get into the lineup here at 57. And I think that'll be really kind of hammered out this weekend when they're both at an open tournament. So we'll certainly see. They're at the Army Invitational. So we'll see what the Penn State lineup looks like. Kevin, any other thoughts from the Big Ten? Any Lemley watch?
I did get to call the Michigan and Columbia duel with Miles Amin, so that was super fun at Chrysler Center. And the one note I had from that was, so 165. They didn't send out Bo Mantanona. He is hurt, so he's out for the year. And they were kind of up in the air on who they wanted to send out, but they sent out Brock Mantanona, who still would have a couple dates he can use. What is it, 5 before you lose your red shirt?
Mm-hmm.
So they threw him out there against number 25 Caesar Alvin, and he teched him. And it looked as bad in person as it did on the scoreboard, you know. But there was one point where
Is he the last of the Mantanonas?
I think so. I
Do
don't know
they
if
ever end?
or not. They never. It's like their last name. It just goes on and on.
It's like the Rappo brothers.
Yeah. But no, it was
Still another one of those at Maryland somewhere.
it was awesome. So at one point he gets on in like his third low single, and they end up getting to like a body lock on the edge. He attacks with it. He gets Caesar down. Caesar bellies out, so he doesn't give up back points. But they were right in front of the camera right there, and Mantanona just kind of looked up and gave a smile to the camera and a wink, and it was like so funny.
most Mantanona thing
It
ever.
It was the most badass thing I've ever seen, like a true freshman do.
That is
awesome.
That is a Mantanona signature moment if I've ever seen one, because they're old. I mean, Anthony was the exact same way.
Oh yeah.
He was electric when he was in high school. It was amazing to see him wrestle in high school, and then to meet him. The funniest thing is, like, we were on our way back from somewhere, and we saw him at the airport, and we had a chance to like actually sit down and like talk with him. And I'm like, this kid is electric. Like, he's not just this person on the mat where he's just throwing crazy moves and everything else. Like, he told us how like he was like the only person that was on his wrestling team in his high school, so that's why his singlets could always be super crazy, and he just practiced with his dad in the barn, and the school was just like, yeah, like, we'll subsidize this, because he was winning titles. Like, how are you gonna say like, no, like, we don't want somebody that's gonna win titles for the school? So like, they just allowed him to be basically a one-man show, and he just went and collected Doc B titles and collected, California state titles, and he just created singlets at will, because they just kind of gave him the budget, and he just had a ton of different singlets. You know what I mean? So but he was so good, and it didn't pan out for him when he got to college, because a lot of those things don't, they don't transfer. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be a lot more disciplined in college than you are in high school, and it just didn't transfer. So, a freshman Mantanona looking into the camera and winking, I think that's par for the Mantanona course, if you ask me.
It was just so cool. Like, again, I was on the mic and I just kind of froze for a minute. I was like, dude, did you just see that? I was like, that was awesome. Anyway, good takedown.
I think it was winking at you, Clutch.
Yeah. Dude, it was awesome. It was a really cool duel. I was happy to watch. That was the biggest thing. That and Jacob Cardenas is massive, and he looked pumped to be debuting there at Chrysler. So very good times. Very good times.
I like Cardenas. He's a good kid.
Dopeness. All right. So as we always do, we turn the page, and after recapping the cool things that went on, we jump to the things that we're looking forward to. And I'm going to start in the ACC. Robbie, what's coming up this week?
Huge weekend for the ACC. Actually, I have an article coming out that kind of highlights this, but if this is a weekend that you can get to ACC country, there are some fantastic out-of-conference duels that I would highly, highly recommend attending. Starting off Friday night, we got Rutgers coming in to Blacksburg for their annual duel at the Moss Art Center. So on the stage, going to be a great duel, some fantastic matchups there. The big one to really keep an eye on is the heavyweight. Looks like Jimmy Mullen's going to get to go, putting his 10-0 record on the line against Slavakuski. That's going to be a fun one. Then we got Lehigh Pitt on Saturday, Lehigh at Pittsburgh. And then Sunday night, UVA hosts Michigan. Kevin's still not coming down for some reason. And then, look, it's like 7 miles from Ann Arbor. I don't know what you're talking about.
Start running now.
Yeah. And then Monday, another Big Ten team coming into Chapel Hill, Illinois. at UNC, which also should have some really fun matchups. So good weekend in the ACC. Highly recommend getting down here. And then Utah Valley's coming out this weekend as well. Double dip here. They're going to hit Duke in the afternoon, and then NC State in the evening. So Adams returning to Raleigh, and should be a pretty good reception for him there.
Yeah, that should be awesome. They better have like a Adam Hall montage that they play
Absolutely.
when guys come back. Like I need a slideshow. Pat, if you're watching this, I need a slideshow of Adam Hall's greatest hits before the duel.
Have you ever seen Pat use a computer? Rachel, we need a montage.
Rachel.
Yeah, I know.
Rachel Miller there. That's who's going to do it.
Used to be Melissa.
Yeah. Shout out Melissa. Melissa's awesome.
She's a mom now. I actually just talked to her like a couple weeks ago.
She's still in Norman?
She is still in Norman. She's working with the Oklahoma gymnastics team. So yeah, I just talked to her a couple weeks ago. She's doing well.
Melissa Simmons, awesome person.
Yeah, she was dope. Yeah, all those matches that you talked about have that Big Ten ACC crossover. Those are the ones I'm looking forward to as well. Talked about Penn State at the Army Invitational. Looking forward to seeing kind of how things shake out at 57. The other one for me that's a cross non-conference duel is Little Rock and Northwestern. And then obviously Iowa State.
Yeah.
So that should certainly be fun. Kevin, anything sticking out for you happening in the Big Ten?
Robbie already talked about the major one that I was looking at, which is the Michigan-Virginia duel for Blood Round. Tommy and I are following Virginia this year, and just want to make sure that they get enough props and credit. And
there's going to be some good matches in that one.
There is, and Virginia is going to be in a good spot with some of those. I mean, 165, we'll see what Michigan ends up doing. Low weights, they've got some questions too. But yeah, I'm excited for 41. What is it, Joffrey and Lemley, or?
No, it'll be Kyron Butler. Joffrey's moving up.
That's right. Joffrey's up.
Yeah, Jack will probably be making his 149 debut, which should be good against Gilcher.
Yeah, so that'll be good. And then what, Yarbo and Ragusin?
It will likely be Gable Porter. My understanding is that Mo is still dealing with some lingering effects from his concussion early in the year. So they're hoping to have him back for Scuffle, if not earlier, but at least by then.
But no, so that's going to be a good one. And then, yeah, Iowa State, man. Like, I just remember how much fun that was last year. And Arnold coming out, bumping up a weight class, essentially winning the duel for him. Like, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, Iowa State has a pretty long list of guys that they could potentially throw out. I have their probables up in front of me, and it's going to get pretty damn serious. With the amount of juggling that they might do. There's like four or five weight classes where it says or. And then obviously for them, they lose a guy with Swiderski being out. Swiderski, I think it's like a knee injury or something, probably like an ACL. He's going to be out for the season. And Etchemendia is currently up at 49 right now. Zach Redding and Jacob Frost are in at 41. And I know Etchemendia talked about like last year saying he was going to go up to 49. Excuse me. And he wanted to jump a couple of weight classes. And, with him being at 49, he's probably still kind of feeling that out. And now with Tarakina, with Swiderski out, maybe he's like, okay, maybe 41 is the spot for me. Right. So we'll certainly see. It's, and then Redding and Frost, maybe they bump up to 49 and move in there. I think that's kind of Etchemendia's choice to make now with Swiderski being out. But we'll certainly see. And then obviously Iowa's still figuring out what they're going to do at 74 and 84. They have Brands, Kennedy, and Arnold all listed there, but it is Brands and Kennedy that are split at 74, and then Arnold's the only one that is listed at 84. So still, I think they're still kind of feeling it out, seeing which one of these guys is going to be in the lineup, and just kind of trying to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, the match to watch though is going to be a 49 with Parco and Etchemendia. That's going to be serious. That is going to really be a very good bout that I think people should be paying very close attention to. And then obviously Evan Frost and Drake Ayala at 33 will also be good too. Um, any other
Well,
thoughts on Iowa and Iowa State?
I think Buchanan and Christian Carroll is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, if Christian wants to do his thing and really put his name out there, this is a big match and a big situation to do it, on the road. So that's going to be wild.
That's a
The
big
young
ask.
the young buck versus the wily vet.
Yeah. And then obviously Bastida and Ben Keeter at heavyweight.
Yeah. Same.
Is Bastida going to be back?
I think I would be surprised if he wasn't for this one, right? Like, I think if anything, they were probably aiming at this one for him to be back. I haven't heard anything of the sort. I know he is listed on the probables, but that is, obviously yet to be determined. I think that if the match is out of hand by that point, they save him. I don't think they throw him out there. I think it'll probably be kind of a game time decision for whether or not he goes out, depending on how he feels. But he is listed on the probables. Whether or not he weighs in or not is still yet to be determined. But it's obviously gonna be a really, really good one. And
What about 174 with Aiden Riggins? Is he going to be the starter at 74 there?
I don't know. I'd have to check with Hackney and see what he knows about the Iowa State lineup, but I would assume so. He is the only guy listed
Yeah.
on the probables, so I would assume so. But they do have two guys listed at 65. So I to look at a probables and say that this is what Kevin Dresser is going to do, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than guessing what their lineup is going to look like. But 74 could certainly be another one of those weight classes where you see some other fireworks as well. I think the bigger thing will be who goes out, Nelson Brands or Patrick Kennedy. As I've said in other conversations that we've had, Nelson Brands hasn't looked the most offensive, right? Like he had some matches where he didn't score any takedowns in most of his matches so far this year. So kind of yet to be seen, maybe still kind of shaking off that ring rust. But yeah, certainly to be determined at 74, more so I think for Iowa than for Iowa State going into this one. Austin, what's happening in the EIWA this week?
Got a lot of invites. Navy Classics going on Saturday. That's usually a good one. Bucknell, Navy are going to be there. Indiana, pretty solid this year. Nebraska's coming to that one.
Mm-hmm.
So is Oregon State. So we're going to see a lot of teams that usually don't come to the East too often out there to see some good competition. You guys mentioned Black Knight invite. Penn State's bringing all their starters from what I've been told. Rutgers is going there, but with them wrestling the night before, it's probably going to be majority second string, third string guys.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State, I think they're bringing their starters there. They usually do. So that's usually pretty solid. I'm interested in Lehigh and Pitt, mainly because Lehigh has a bunch of question marks in their lineup, especially 49, 57, 65, just to see who they throw out there. I assume they're going to want to put their best lineup forward to try and win this duel against Pitt, who's pretty tough, right? So maybe give you a little indicator of who might be the front runner for some of those weights.
Just bump Stanich up to 49 or 57. I'm sure he'll do fine.
Have him wrestle all 10 weights. That guy's fun to watch.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, he's great. Big Red invite at Cornell. A bunch of New York schools. That's going to be a round robin format. So a little different this year. I think they're trying to build that back up from what it used to be, the body bar invite. And then Sunday, I will be personally at the Keystone. Same day as the Philly Marathon. So the city is a pain in the ass to get through.
That should be fun.
But yeah, we're going to see Claunch's CMU there, and we're going to
Yeah.
see Virginia Tech there.
Fired up. There we go.
Virginia Tech starters are registered. I do have pre-seeds. I'll get an article and some of that stuff out about that and the Black Knight invite in the next few days here. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
I
you
know
should see-
Nebraska was at the Navy Classic last year, because that's where Ridge Lovett had that 1-0 match in the finals, and everybody was like, "What the hell's going on with
Yeah,
Ridge
that's
Lovett?"
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
right.
smiling
I
too
think-
much.
It's too many of these.
Too much
Um,
love.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech's going to have most of their starters up at Keystone. I know it's an event that they really like. They get some good
Yeah.
matchups. It sounds like Mullen is a kind of a game time decision. Kaka is going for
Yep.
sure at heavyweight. Mullen will be a game time decision after Friday night, whether he goes or not. Sasso's still dinged up, so it's Andy Smith at 97. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the lineup that we've seen so far from them.
Yeah, like I said, I got the pre-seeds and just quick thoughts on 133. Noto, McGonigal, Almeida from Penn is tough. So is Ryan Miller and Mason Leipert from FNM. So I think that'll be a fun weight class. I think 41 will be fun. Latona, Wyatt Henson, and CJ Composto. So those three there will be battling. I think you'll see some good wrestling. Just those are the two weight classes that really stuck out to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Should
Well,
be
we'll
a
see.
Sam
fun
looked good on
weekend.
Friday.
Yeah, we'll
He
see
looked really
Henson
good
back
against
too. I'm
Evans.
excited to see Henson.
He also looked good on Friday. It was really cool to see them honor him, put a banner up in the rafters for him. He means a lot to the program, and it's kind of cool to see, a younger guy get that and see what the school is doing for him.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Now the last thing I gotta mention, and I know we talked about it already, but it's Gable versus Gadali happening. Gable's first match in the lineup. Said he was ready to go last week, but oh hum, he had to go be part of John Jones' entourage at UFC 309 because he was part of his training crew. So did not wrestle last week because he was at Madison Square Garden.
He
But
taught Jones how to kick that guy in the stomach. Most people don't know that.
If you've seen any of the videos of them training, Gable damn near got knocked out by a knee by John Jones during training. So yeah.
There's a reason he's coming back and not going to MMA right now.
Not yet. I think that'll take a
Yeah.
couple of years before he makes that jump. But I think it's gonna be a good match with Tay and Gable. Gable's first folk style match since leaving his shoes on the mat in Tulsa.
Still don't know how he's
Hopefully-
allowed to wrestle after he left his shoes on the mat.
Yeah, I mean, because it's only a symbolic gesture.
It's against the bylaws.
Yeah, can't wear shoes
against
now.
the bylaws.
What's a bylaw?
Like that, that's don't sleep on Tay. I mean,
I'm certainly not. It's a good test for Gable with coming back. But I mean, let's call it what it is. It's very hard to be like, man, Gable's coming back. Wonder how he's gonna look. I mean, the man was training with John Jones just this past week, and then before that, he was training with Von Miller, and at some point had Aaron Donald that he was working with on essentially hand fighting too. So like,
and before that was training with Rey Mysterio Jr. So he's been moving around. We'll see what we get.
He's gonna
so
different
he's gonna
feel.
wear a mask. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
this is quite the
luchador
Iron
mask.
Man. This is quite the Iron Man that we've ever seen, right? Like this is insane. But
Oddly
like,
enough, he has not competed in Iron Man though.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
he is not.
he could do the Philly Marathon if he went to Keystone this weekend. Got a
this
third
is
of the
very
Iron
true.
Man checked off.
Very true. What was funny to me during his press conference was everyone, is obviously trying to figure out how he's able to come back. And something I forgot, and I think most people forgot, is he never took an Olympic red shirt. And that's exactly how he's able to come back. And I'm sure they were banking on it too, is just like, you never took your Olympic red shirt, take your Olympic red shirt and we'll get you back in here. And that's how he can be. And I'm sure he's been enrolled for a while. That's how this is able to happen. They've probably been looking at it for a good bit because he said when he got released from the NFL, he had other tryouts, but he also talked to Eggum and they were figuring all these things out. So they were probably like, hey, why don't we get you in here just in case you get cleared to come back and wrestle and you're already on the team? We just won't put you on the active roster until you get we won't put you on the website roster. The active roster is probably his name was probably on it, but the website is completely different because if you think about it, I mean, Penn State doesn't put their lineup out, their actual roster out until a week before they wrestle, which is 2 weeks into the damn season. So the website rosters really don't mean shit. So Gable's back. It's going to be fun. He's got Gadali right out of the gate, and I can't wait to see it. I don't even know. I wish I had it up in front of me. I don't even know how to watch it this weekend. Is it
think
on
it's on
UFC Fight Pass?
I'm not sure.
Is
That's
it
a
on?
really good
Is it
question.
on BTN Network?
I think it's BTN Plus one.
I
BTN
was
Plus,
looking it up
maybe?
earlier. I think. Hold on.
I
think it
can't
is.
remember where to watch it. But I'm sure.
By the
I
way, don't
mean,
call it BTN Plus, so they yell at you. It's Big Ten
what's
But
it?
it
Plus.
is, but it is,
Big 10
it's
plus.
big
Yes.
plus. Big plus.
Big 10 plus. And now I will say this, and this was a tweet put out by Scotty Sentez earlier, is he's going to be looking to draw, and he said that if he has choice when they flip, his choice will be to start at heavyweight. So you can see this. The man already put it out there. He said, we're going to flip for it. And if I win the flip, I'm picking to start at heavyweight. So Minnesota fans, he's already given you a warning. Make sure you're there early because if Scotty has his way, the match everybody wants to watch will be the first match of the evening. So make sure you're there early and in your seat because I have a feeling Scotty's going to get his way. Because in this case, Scotty does know.
There
There's a
you go.
reference.
Got
Steve,
it.
thank you.
One.
I was just waiting.
Me too. I was hoping.
Yeah.
I thought Clonch was gonna say it.
Yeah.
I mean Earl today.
He's just sitting there like shaking, like I can't wait. I need
In
to
this
make
case,
joke.
Scotty does know.
It's like
So-
Quagmire, just giggity, giggity, just wait for
Exactly.
someone.
Exactly.
And per the bylaws, Tay will be wearing a Campbell singlet.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
good.
that'll
Good.
happen.
They just bring extras
will.
now just in case.
Look, if we see the same performance we saw against Feldman, though, I mean, that's
Maybe
gonna
they
be a
just all
fight.
wear all of them just wear that singlet.
There you
The
go.
same one.
That's an
They'll just take
option.
it off, give it to
That's
the
an
next guy.
option.
Yeah,
Remember when you
it's
used to have the blood rags? At least we don't have to have that anymore.
that's true.
With
Yeah.
the
Just
hanky
with-
stuffed in your crotch. That was always
Some
fun.
of the foreigners still use those.
That's so sanitary.
I was just gonna
That's
say
just
it's
crotch
nasty.
stuffing. That's
I've-
all they're doing.
I've seen it. Some of the foreigners still use those. But no, the season is, we're about a month in. It continues to get better and better and better. I'm looking forward to this weekend. We've got a host of duels across every single conference. I think it's going to be awesome. Obviously, make sure you guys are watching the Big 12 as well with Oregon State going to what was that, the Navy Classic. So
Angle
stay
return
tuned.
to Annapolis.
Yep.
Exactly. So stay tuned to literally everything you can possibly watch. Earl will always have the streaming guide that comes out. So
Real Earl, not fake Earl.
Yeah.
make sure you bookmark it.
I won't do anything.
Yeah. Make sure you bookmark that. Make sure you stay tuned to our crazy ass shenanigans and the shit that we love to talk on the show. Like, subscribe, give us your comments. Shout out Slap the Mat as being basically our #1 fan. Continue to keep those things coming. Slap the Mat, what I need you to do is I need to get more of your friends to watch this show and throw in some comments. I mean, maybe you are a genius of one and you're the last man standing, but get your friends in here, throw some questions in, keep the juices flowing. But as always, enjoy the conversation with you gentlemen. And until next week, see you again.